everyone, welcome to Comic Essay. My name is Sean, and today I want to talk about because I released a video last week which was about how Marvel sucks and how they fail at comic books, how they failed the people. But I do want to talk about a few things that Marvel does do right. I just came out of church. It's like I think I've had a change of heart. Not really a change of heart, but there are a few things that Marvel does do right. Because a few people did ask me about my video. Asking them like, Marvel's this bad, how do they exist? I'm like, well, they do get some things right. And one of the things that Marvel has gotten right is Thor. Thor, guys, wow. The Thor run that has just currently finished was actually really good. And it goes on the premise, so let me start it off. It's about it goes on the premise that Thor, Odin's son, Thor, has been replaced by Jane Foster. Jane Foster, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Jane Foster is the girlfriend that he no longer has after in Thor Ragnarok, but basically that woman that he was in love with from Earth. Now, the thing is that Jane Foster then soon moves over into being a council for in the universe, representing Earth as a delegate, but Jane Foster has cancer, basically. So now how she becomes Thor is very simple. So what she does is that Thor, now, wow, actually I need to start this earlier. So Thor had encountered basically a villain. He was named as Gore the God Butcher. So how he came into existence was that he lived on this planet, famine all around the planet, people barely surviving, people always dying, but this was a religious people. These people prayed to gods. They prayed to gods basically to help them and so on and whatever. Help never came because the planet was just run down to crap anyway, and basically everyone on the planet died, and Gore was basically the last survivor of his race. Now what happened was, while he's walking on the planet, just somewhere, he meets two gods that are battling each other. So the two gods are fighting each other. At the end of the day, they both end up dead. I think just like through mutual exchanges of blows, they end up dying. And Gore ends up picking up one of these gods' weapons. Once picking it up, he realizes that these guys don't care. The gods don't care about people. The gods don't. Number one, they've never answered any of our prayers. They come here and they fight and they destroy things. The gods don't care about anyone. So he picks up one of the gods' weapons, and it's such a cool weapon. So anyway, he picks up one of the weapons. He gets imbued with its power, and he goes around to planets killing gods. Not killing people, but killing gods. Now, what's interesting to note here is like he ends up facing Thor. Thor being the god of thunder, and so what happens is he faces up against Thor. At the end of the day ends up defeating him, but Gore went ahead and said, like, listen, you don't understand, gods are not even worthy of the praise that they get from people, the prayers they get from people. They don't care, they're not worthy, right? And this goes down to the premise. So like then later on, like now we're skipping into all new, all different Marvel, and Nick Fury basically ends up whispering into Thor's ear. Now this, like, when the time the story came out, everyone's like, what did he whisper into Thor's ear? Because he whispered something into Thor's ear, and Thor dropped the hammer. He immediately became unworthy of the hammer, Mjolnir. And now the thing is there, and then like there was this whole big thing. Odin's father came to come pick up the hammer. He couldn't pick it up. No one could pick it up. Like, it's crazy. And then what happens is that so what Nick Fury had actually even whispered into Thor's ear, we found out like a much later, is that he said to Thor, Gore the God Butcher, he was right. You're not worthy of this hammer. You've never been worthy. No god is worthy. Alright? None of them are worthy of the praise and whatever that they get. And immediately Thor became unworthy because he believed himself as a god unworthy. So he became unworthy of the hammer, and what happened is that Jane Foster, we see that Jane Foster is able to, she makes her way basically to the moon. So on the moon, that's where he dropped the hammer. She picks up the hammer, and she became, because she's like, she was just worthy of the hammer. And Jane Foster Thor was born, and wow, is she an amazing Thor. Like, guys, she's just so bad. she's the baddest. And now I'm just trying to think. Oh yes, so to wrap this up, Jane Foster, like I said, she has cancer. The problem with this is that as Jane Foster has cancer, every time she picks up the hammer, all the chemotherapy, all the treatment that has happened onto her body to get rid of the cancer, all like disappears. So every time she picks up the hammer, her state of health goes back to zero, and essentially the hammer ends up killing her. It's killing her because her cancer is killing her, and the hammer isn't helping. But at the end, so we know like this was a temporary run for Jane Foster Thor, but it's so cool, guys, because how do I explain this? Like, Jane Foster as Thor. So when we jumped into, and this is a spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't finished Jane Foster Thor. So the stories that were coming out from her, wow, it's amazing. Like, guys, she battles and she fights. I mean, she goes up against Odin. Like, Odin is against her because Odin doesn't like her. Thor, Odin's son, is unworthy. He's known as the unworthy Thor. I mean, it's crazy. And he ends up losing his arm, like, you know, trying to get his hammer back and whatever. Like, it's nuts. Like, it's because, like, she has so many odds actually against her. No one likes her, you know, and all her adventures are flipping cool, actually. Yeah, wow. Like, they're really cool. They're simplistic for anyone who's just jumping into comics. The adventures are so intricate that anyone who's currently watching comics will really like it. So reading comics. So basically, spoiler alert to the end of her run. What has just happened now is that there's this with Marvel Legacy. With Marvel Legacy coming out, Mangog appears. Mangog being this entity, this being, which is literally like all the hate and vengeance of a planet. So like of a planet of people, right? This planet that created Mangog was like part of was like, we all know Odin, he had sins, yo. So Odin had problems, and he used to like wipe out planets, guys. And one of these planets, there was this planet that he was wiping out, and Mangog was created basically from this planet. This Mangog is this creation that is super powerful. I mean, now in Marvel Legacy, there's this prophecy that Mangog is coming, and as Mangog is making his way to Asgard, he is ripping apart everything, anyone and everything. People fall, Asgardians fall, so much to the point where Mangog makes it to Asgard, and Thor, not just Thor, Odin's son, who's the unworthy Thor, he appears. He's trying to subdue Mangog, can't. He gets smacked. Yeah. Anyway, he gets smacked. Then there's Odin. Odin tries his hand at it. Odin fails, guys. He's like the guy who is in possession of the Odin force. This guy, he's failing, and he's scared. He is scared of Mangog. So what happens is Jane Foster Thor picks up. She appears. Now she's at her health's end when it comes to being Thor. If she picks up the hammer one more time, she's done. She's basically gonna die. And what happens is that she picks up the hammer to go help Asgard, a place that has always didn't like her. Odin didn't like her. No one liked her. Why? Because she was a Thor, but she was a Thor no one chose. Now, she wasn't even Asgardian. She was just a human, and a sickly human. Now, she picks up the hammer to go save Asgard, and boy, does she save Asgard. Like, she can't go, like I said, Mangog, super powerful. She's trying to go toe-to-toe with him, cannot go toe-to-toe with him. I mean, she tries to hold her own, can't. Has this amazing idea. Oh, man. She has this amazing idea. She tries to throw Mangog into basically a sun. But he ricochets off asteroids and whatever, planets and whatever, and she's not able to get him to the sun. So as the first toss to the sun, nothing, like she wasn't able to get him there. Then she's like, shucks, I know what to do. She ties the hammer, Mjolnir, around Mangog, chucks the hammer at the sun. Mangog ain't stopping the hammer. No matter how much he ricochets, it's going exactly where it needs to go. And basically, Mangog and the hammer go into a sun. But because she has let go of the hammer, she becomes Jane Foster again. And she shucks. She just dies. And Thor's there like, oh my gosh, we can do something. And it's too late. It's late for it. But guys, that story, just as the story has ended, I just realized, like, yes, fine, Marvel doesn't do a lot right, but Thor, they did that good. I think not many people, and when they addressed like having a female Thor, having Jane Foster as Thor, everyone wanted Thor, Odin's son, back and whatever, and they addressed that. I guess there's metaphors for how people who read comic books are seeing this in comic books, But I was so for Jane Foster Thor. Like, wow, she really held the mantle of Thor, and I felt it. I really felt like there was a lot lost with Odin's son, but Jane Foster reunited, and I was just like, wow, she is bad, but yeah, and ultimately I loved her run as Thor. It was a really good run. I approve. I'm really with it. And so if anyone if you think like I was talking crap last week, listen to this. Read Marvel, but be specific with Marvel. Read Thor. Read definitely Jane Foster as Thor. Wow. Unworthy Thor? Read Unworthy Thor. Unworthy Thor is actually pretty decent as well. Read it. Thor, I thought something else was going to really take up the mantle, but Thor really did take up the mantle of holding Marvel to a standard, and Marvel held that standard in Thor. So yeah. Listen, if you like the video, like and subscribe. I'm gonna try because I realize I'm not releasing as many videos as I used to, but I'm gonna definitely try to release a video where I just get a bit more FaceTime and we just go through theories and we go through a summary of stories, or we go through things that we like or we do not like. So yeah, subscribe to the channel, catch us on Patreon, follow us on Twitter, and yeah, I'll catch y'all later. Cheers.